Hey, folks, have you heard of the chief doctor? He can keep practicing even after retirement. I'm not talking about healing, are you? The son thinks Dad's worried about cash for medical bills after retirement, but Dad's got other things on his mind. Dad's bummed his leg isn't fixed. If it were, he could still be on the grind. After a brief chat, things got awkward. Dad just stood up and walked off, while the second son scrambled to catch up. This time, Dad and the second son lead, with the son trailing, carrying oil like a sidekick. They hadn't walked far when he zoomed past Dad, but the moment he turned back and couldn't find him, panic set in, and he sprinted back. He found Dad, but the second son was just standing there, staring off into the distance. Turns out Dad was just taking a nature break. Spotting Dad, the son breathed a sigh of relief, but Dad wasn't having it. He lectured him for leaving the oil bag alone. The son eagerly trailed Dad, recalling the wisdom from his childhood. Dad said villagers could go days without the county chief, but not him. Son expected a big surprise. The villagers would surely roll out the red carpet. But when Dad saw the long-awaited letter, he smiled, only to find out he was dead wrong. The village committee was as empty as a ghost town. It felt like whether we showed up or not made no difference. The son felt downcast at the lonely village committee. Dad sipped water while taking out his pipe. Seriously, who's hanging around here all day waiting for you? I didn't come here for inspections. I thought they'd welcome us warmly. The son grew impatient. Dad walked to the village, and the chief rushed over at the second son's cry. Dad introduced his son to the village chief, saying he'd be taking over this route. The chief thought Dad got promoted, and Dad just smiled and said, "The village chief," realizing this, stroked his chin, amazed that outside teachers and doctors all think they can be leaders. "You've been trudging on this road for years and got nothing to show for it." Dad nonchalantly said, "This oil route. Just me, and only I feel the struggle. I can't cry to my boss, can I?" He smiled, turning to his son. "I've noted it. Try complaining yourself if you doubt." After a brief rest, father and son set off again, but froze at the door. Outside was a crowd of grinning men, women, and children. The son broke into a sweat while Dad coolly said, "Look at you. What do you want me to do? Never seen me before? So what now? You're brave enough to show up, and here's your welcome." Actually, the villagers were just curious to see what the new district chief looked like. Truth be told, they mostly came to bid farewell to Dad. As they departed, Dad strode ahead, no glance back, while the son waved excitedly goodbye. The son asked Dad, "Why do these folks want to live up here when there's nothing around?" Dad pointed to the scenery, saying, "This lush landscape is worth more than anything. They're guarding the traditions, kid." While the son didn't quite get it, he suddenly remembered there may be no real wizards out there, but some days feel awfully magical. Before entering the village, Dad instructed, "Deliver all mail to the village committee, including outgoing ones. But deliver that man's letter personally. Of course, the guy's not on good terms with the village chief, so he won't give him his mail. Plus, you must hand over old Wang's letter personally to avoid a disaster." With that, Dad led his son into the village, not to the committee, but straight to a blind old lady's house. Dad dug out a letter from his pocket and handed it to the old lady, saying, "Here's a letter from your grandson." But the son noticed the envelope was. The old lady trembled as she opened the envelope, slipped a $10 note into her pocket, and handed Dad a blank piece of paper, saying, "Read." Dad began reading, but after a few lines, the old lady laughed. "I've heard this dozens of times." Dad then changed some lines to continue. The old lady was engrossed, her face etched with sadness. As father and son took their leave, she slowly raised her hand to say goodbye. After leaving, the father told his son that years ago, the old lady's daughter-in-law died in childbirth, and her son soon died too, leaving a baby grandson. The old woman scrimped and saved to raise her grandson, and after years, he became the only college grad in the area, only to vanish without a trace. She rarely received letters, only getting one money order during the new year. The old lady missed her son and wept bitterly. The son was furious, thinking Dad was covering for the grandson. Instead of pretending to deliver letters, it'd be better to lecture the boy. Dad sighed and said slowly, "He's a college student. He should know what to do, right? It's a jab, but it speaks volumes of helplessness. Those out and about have a million reasons to not tend to their home life, while those at home worry even more. No matter how many excuses there are for the wanderer, they can't undo the regret of missing family time." As they continued, the father-son duo found more to talk about, and before they knew it, A young girl sprayed pesticide in the field. The second son ran to her effortlessly. She smiled back, a total heartthrob. The son was mesmerized. This is my son, the newly appointed rural ranger, 24 years young. He used to call the teacher Dad and got in trouble with Mum. Is that a crime? Dad introduced his son to everyone along the way, but when it came to the girl, he made sure to mention his age, thinking to himself, how ridiculous is this? Over the years, Dad watched her grow up, always staying at their house whenever he visited. When she was little, she used to shyly brush Dad off and he'd joke, I have a son about your age. Would you want to come down the mountain and be my... And guess what? Today he actually brought his son along. Who would have thought those old jokes would come to life? That day happened to be a village celebration. Dad was downing drinks with the villagers while the son danced with the girl by the bonfire. Watching his dad having a blast, he reminisced about his younger self and the kid's mom. If you really enjoyed our story, make sure not to forget to like and subscribe.